Hello, Sirus from Sirus Gaming Spot here, and welcome to Sirus Gaming Corner, a gaming podcast where I and Soulfish1390 talk about various gaming topics, from old games to new. Everything is fair game. So how are you this evening, Sword?
Good. Always glad to be back on.
So for today's episode of Sirus Gaming Corner, I thought we would talk about joke mechanics in video games. Mostly due to how it's almost April Fool's when we're recording, and I'll probably release this on April Fool's. So I thought that would be an appropriate topic. So what do I mean by joke mechanics? I mean mechanics that are so absurd, and maybe sometimes funny, but are so absurd that you just think to yourself, are they serious when they do this in video games? And like
sometimes those are the most fun mechanics, even if it's ironic.
And like I think like some modifiers I want to make, it has to be absurd within that game. So I don't think we can just say Yakuza overall is just a joke mechanic in itself, because a lot of the sub-stories are wacky like that.
To say the least.
Yeah, like I don't think it's fair to just say like the various in Yakuza scenarios is like a joke moment, like a joke mechanic, since that's pretty typical of the Yakuza sub stories. So you know, I feel
it's literally expected at this point.
Yeah, so I feel like it has to be like absurd in the context of the game itself in order for it to count. I guess I should start. Let's see. I had a list on. I guess my first say is in the Xenoblade series. Like you played Xenoblade 1 through 3, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we can all say that the developers know, like, it has pretty much go on with the running joke of how there's always an ultra enemy unit in the first area of the map. That's one big gorilla that's always roaming around. It happened in Xenoblade 1.
Yeah, that's true. And they're always like level 85 or something.
Yeah, level 70, level 80, around there. It's Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 2, and Xenoblade 3. And yeah,
it's almost like I feel like after the first one, Monolith Soft became like self-aware and like we gotta make this a tradition.
Yeah. It's just a running joke at that point, I think. Of putting a giant gorilla enemy in there to kill players if they approach it.
And you come back at like the very end of the game and you finally kick its ass. Mm-hmm. It's so satisfying.
Yeah. Another funny joke mechanic I recall is we both play Trails Cold Steel, right? No, the first one. There's a mock battle with Patrick, and I think it's so funny how much he railroads you into picking a particular party member when you're choosing which party member to fight against his entourage. When I first played for Trails of Cold Steel, I tried to went with my usual party, which is Reed because he's the main character, Fi, Laura, and I think Alicia, or yeah. I think that's her name, right? Like
Lisa,
you know. That's my usual party member. So they're pretty strong units. I mean, Laura and Faye are like probably the two strongest units in the party. But then he goes like, no, you can't do that. Or guys only, man. Guys only, man. Guys only, man. And then he forces you to repick your party list. Funny enough, even after that, like, Laura is still pickable, so pick her again, and then with 3 other guys, and he's like, nah man, just, there's still a girl there, even though it's Laura, you have to pick somebody else. And then the rest of the party just joked like, oh, he's afraid that Laura will just kick his ass.
Yeah. Because Laura's stronger than anything.
Okay, so you're okay. You have to pick your party members again. If you pick if you pick Eustace in there along with the other party members, he's like, nah, man, he should have been in class A to begin with. Pick another one. So you're forced to you're basically railroaded into picking the party members that's left. That is extremely funny to me. How much of a bitch Patrick is.
They went all out on that whole spiel there.
Yeah.
I love how dedicated the writers were just for that whole little joke.
Yeah. And it's so funny that it's like you wouldn't expect this that you're just picking your party members, but then that happened. So I thought like that instance was really memorable in Cold Steel 1. Is there any joke mechanics that you want to highlight, Sword? That you can think of?
I think one that comes to mind. Did you play Final Fantasy 9?
No.
Okay, alright, well there's a mini game in it. You may have heard of it. It's called Tetramaster. It's the card game mini game. And this game makes no goddamn sense. So you go from Final Fantasy VIII, which is Triple Triad, which is goated as far as card games go. It's nice and simple, easy to learn, and it's just a lot of fun. Tetramaster, first of all, the game refuses to give you an in-game tutorial whatsoever. And what's even worse is that if you have a fucking strategy guide, you have to go to a website called Play Online, which is no longer active. So it's like the worst strategy guide ever. And then the Tetramaster is a game where there are no rules. And then when you do understand the rules, that's when you realize that the rules are just thrown out the window. Like, each of the cards will have letters and numbers on them, and I'm looking at that, I'm like, what am I looking at? What is this? It's like XZ710. And I'm like, what the it's like, what is this code I have to decipher? And then there's and the cards have invisible health bars, and I guess there's elemental weaknesses, and then there's an RNG mechanic where it's even if you have a higher attack power than an enemy card, you still lose through some other external factor. I'm like, what is this? This is terrible. And then what's even worse is that I think the biggest joke mechanic of all is that there's actually a part in the game where you have to do a mandatory card game where you have to win. I'm like, what the fuck? It's so stupid.
Another moment I want to highlight is in Nier Automata. Okay, I think everybody knows that there's a self-destruct feature when you're playing as androids. I think everybody tried it just because 2B doesn't have her skirt because when she blows up.
Just for the trophy. We didn't do it for any other reason.
Yeah. That's not the point. That's not the part of what I'm saying is a joke mechanic. Even though the self-destruct mechanic is kind of a joke. Because you never want to use it. It reduces your HP to 1. Blowing up takes 10-15 seconds, so you won't ever be able to use it normally in the battle. Self-destruct is a joke by itself. The joke moment and mechanic that I want to talk about in Nier Automata is when you use self-destruct in the space station.
Yes!
Because that triggers one of the joke endings, which is so funny to me because you wouldn't really think much of self-destruct, but then if you self-destruct in the space station, you get a joke ending. And I think it's one of the funniest joke endings in the game. Because most of the joke endings in Nier Automata, you sort of get why it happened. Oh, here's Pascal. You kill Pascal as A2, joke ending. So the joke endings are mostly very predictable where you're going. But blowing up while you're in the space station, I wouldn't have thought of that, to be honest.
I wouldn't have thought that would lead to a joke ending, or I guess you could say it's almost like a fucking a game over in a way. But yeah, I agree. Most of the times, at least the game is pretty forgiving. You pretty much know when you're gonna get a joke ending or not. If you wander too far off the beaten path, you're gonna get a joke ending.
Would you say most of the ways you get the character's ultimate weapons in Final Fantasy X can be considered a joke mechanic?
Oh my god, those I couldn't do it. I couldn't get all of them. Okay. and it was for the two infamous ones. It was for Waka and Lulu, because I'm not gonna sit there and dodge 255 consecutive lightning bolts. What were they thinking? Who played tested this and said, "Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think the players will love that." And Blitzball is just such a vast, convoluted minigame that you got to sink so much time into, and that to just get the ultimate weapon. Honestly, I had weapons that were way better customized than the ultimate weapon wasn't even worth it. But like, I shouldn't have to like jump through all these hoops just to get like the ultimate weapon for one of the characters. So for Waka and Lulu, it's just absurd. And like what the hell? Like, what do the lightning bolts even have to do with Lulu? Like why is that the way you have to get her ultimate weapon? Unless I'm not remembering something, but it's so random.
I guess like, I don't know. I guess she might be associated with thunder. I don't know.
Hey, maybe, yeah.
Let's talk about Devil May Cry 5. Now, DMC 5 has a lot of wacky shit in it. Like, DMC overall is a pretty over-the-top series. Like, with Dante, you got a weapon where you fight with a hat, where he does the Michael Jackson dance. You with a motorcycle, a whole-ass motorcycle. And overall, it's a pretty over-the-top and wacky series. But I think one mechanic that really caught me off guard by playing it was V's taunt. His S-rank taunt, I think. Because like, various characters can taunt, and their taunt would change depending on what rank, what style ranking you have during an encounter. So like, from C, B, A, S. These S rank just gets him to play on the violin while battle. And it isn't hard for him to pretty much play it to completion, just because of how he plays, because he plays like a summoner with him controlling 3 units, just Nightmare, the Crow, and Panther. Which are, by the way, DMC1 references, since they were bosses in DMC1.
Nice.
But yeah. So I think it's like even in DMC5, you can always find some absurd stuff in there.
Never changed Devil May Cry, never changed. Have you ever played Danganronpa?
No. I know it, but I haven't played it.
So in a nutshell, I don't know if you're like familiar with like the like how it's structured, but basically after like a murder happens in the story, the characters have to like do what they call a class trial, and there's a bunch of like it basically boils down to like collecting evidence, presenting them, trying to find contradictions and statements of the other characters, things like that. And what makes them like kind of weird and sort of interesting at the same time is that throughout the class trials you have different sets of mini games, and one of them is called the Hangman's Gambit. Now, in the first Danganronpa, the Hangman's Gambit was basically just picking letters that are like floating around, and then like if you pick the wrong letter, it like hurts your HP or whatever, and then it was bad. Danganronpa 2 has the fucking audacity. Well, alright, so first of all, they changed the Hangman's Gambit and make it way worse, and then they have the audacity to literally change the title to the Improved Hangman's Gambit. No. I swear they're trolling, because they had to have known they made it worse, and they're just fucking with you, because it is so much more annoying, because not only do you have to pick the letters, you also have like, if the letters collide with each other, it damages you, and then this and that, and it's so... But I just laughed. They made it so much worse, and they literally decided to call it Improved Hangman's Gambit. I'm like, fuck you. That goes beyond joke. That's just straight up trolling. I love it. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
So Bloodborne. Now, there's not a specific gotcha moment in Bloodborne, since all the Soul games have a lot of gotcha moments that's ingrained to the gameplay. It's not one of those ones. I think a really funny mechanic is that they give you a shield in Bloodborne, and it's really funny because the shield isn't worth jack shit in Bloodborne with how the game plays. They only gave it to you to troll you because of how many people played safe with the shield in like Dark Souls 1 and 2. That is pretty funny.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. And then there's Fire Emblem. Now there's not really many ways you could play with joke mechanics in Fire Emblems. Is SRPG, but there are two ways I think Fire Emblem does this. One is the weapon is just a troll, and that's with the devil weapons, or most notably the devil axe. You want to know how the devil axe works? It's a pretty powerful weapon with good modifiers. You know what the con is?
What?
If your luck is not high enough, instead of doing damage to the enemy, it'll do damage to you, and it can kill you.
Jesus. Oh my god.
So like the devil axe might have good modifiers as a weapon, but it's a joke weapon that you never want to use because it will most likely backfire and kill you instead of aid you. And this is in a game series where there is permadeath.
Oh my god. not even worth it.
And then the other way, Fire Emblem control you, I think. Now this might be unintentional, but just some units just feel like they're just trolling you with them. Because there's some units that join that are just completely useless at the time they join you. I think the poster boy for this is Gareth and Fire Emblem Rain Dawn. I mean, Rain Dawn overall just doesn't have good unit balance. I mean, this is the game where you have Meg and Fiona in the roster, and Fiona is just useless throughout most of the game. But Gareth, like, they don't give you Gareth until near the end of the game, and he's a physical unit with high physical defense, high physical attack. You know what they pit you against after he joins you?
What?
Mostly magic units, where his resistance is shit. So Gareth is basically just a dead slot for you at that point of the game, which is like just 2 or 3 chapters before the end of the game, or 2 or 3 battles before the end of the game.
It definitely sounds like a troll almost, honestly.
Yeah. Like I cannot think of a single unit that got worse than Gareth in terms of being absolutely useless when they joined. Like, Gareth looks good on paper with his stat line, but he is absolutely useless when he joins you just because of the type of enemies you'll be facing from here on out. Like, the only use he has is Blood Tide, which is a skill he has just for being on the field. But I don't think he's worth it just for that skill, because he's just gonna get killed by various magic spirits in the next chapter, and by Ashira at the final chapter when she uses her AoE magic blast that damages everyone.
They basically set you up to fail with that.
I mean, you got other units. They just give you Jake Gareth for some reason at that point.
Yeah. You got no chance.
Yeah. Like, they give you Nazir and Gareth. Like, Nazir is actually useful. Gareth, not so much.
Have you ever played Persona 2?
A bit. At the start.
So Persona 2, I bring that one up because that basically encompasses everything that I hate about the whole negotiation system in the entire SMT franchise. Because Persona 2, I think, has the worst iteration of negotiations in any SMT game. Because it basically boils down to every character, you have 5 characters, and every character has up to 4 different negotiation skills. And you're supposed to appease one of the demon's emotions, like there's like eagerness or happiness, fear, whatever. And I think the one you want to get up is like eagerness. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it is, because when you get up eagerness, you get a spell card, and you use spell cards to create personas in the Velvet Room. And then if you can make a pact with a demon in a dungeon, and then from that point forward, anytime you renegotiate with them again, they'll give you blank tarot cards, which means that you can create any tarot card of any arcana. no matter what it is. And that sounds all great. But the thing is, first of all, it basically boils down to RNG because you have no idea what skill is going to make a demon happy or eager. And then there's also mixing and matching characters. You can take characters, you can take any two characters, mix and match them, and then get different emotions up. And then basically, if you want to keep getting blank tarot cards, which are the ideal ones, because like I said, you can create any arcana with them, you're going to want to get into random battles, you're going to farm for them, you're going to negotiate, you're going to try to hopefully find the demon that you're looking for, and do negotiating process over again. And not to mention that you can only do packs with like 3 demons at a time. So basically, once you go to a new dungeon, those packs you have are going to be null and void. So you're going to want to just nullify them and then start over and then go to the next dungeon, repeat the process, then find more demons, then just trial and error, find out what attributes they need to go up to get the eagerness stat up, and then just rinse and repeat. And it's such a grind. I'm like, who play tested this and thought this was good? I never got the negotiation thing in general, but I think Persona 2 pretty much encapsulates the worst of it.
Speaking of Persona, I think there are 2 ways I think that Persona 3 to 5 can troll you, or like it'll make not troll you, have these various joke moments in the gameplay, and that's with party makeup and swimsuits outfit, with the party member make a comment of why you're getting them to wear this outfit for them.
Oh yeah, when you equip them and you carry, or someone's like, oh, this is so embarrassing, why am I wearing this?
Or why you only have a party member of only female characters. In fact, I think this only happens in Persona 3.
I actually, I only remember it happening in a Persona 3 Reload. Maybe it happened in the original.
Yeah, it happened in the original, in the FPS, and in the PSP version.
Oh, okay, I don't remember that. I do remember it Reload, but okay, I guess it was in all the versions too.
I guess it's just Persona 3. And then there is Persona Fusion accidents, where when you're just fusing Persona and something goes wrong, and you get a totally different Persona than the one you were aiming for, which is
always worse than what you wanted.
I have seen online where Persona Fusion can get you an extremely strong one, but mostly it's you just get a weaker one, which is where the game trolls.
And at that point, you basically just want to reload your save. Like I remember in Persona 3 Reload, where I got like one fusion accident, and then from that point forward, I always saved before I went to the Velvet Room.
Okay. I've barely gotten any Persona accidents through playing 3, 4, and 5. So like it is very...
they're like literally less than 1%.
Yeah, they're incredibly rare. But I have seen YouTube videos, so it is pretty funny when the game does troll you. There is a particular moment in Fate Stay Night that I want to highlight as a pretty funny moment. Now, Fate Stay Night does have its various levity and funny moments, but like it's a visual novel, so you wouldn't think they really do much in order to subvert the mechanics to the point where it feels like this is just a joke. I think they do it in 2 ways in Fate Stay Night in particular. One, in the Fate route, while you're sparring with Saber, you have like 3 choices. One of them is like you're deciding what to do at lunchtime. Do you eat now or later? There's one moment where you just say no eating. We're fasting today. Which then gets a funny moment with Ilya and Saber and Shiro, where Ilya kind of berates Saber for being somewhat of a glutton. And then this gets Saber a bit mad, and then she gets more serious with Shiro in their sparring. And like it plays out like this is a bad ending, where you go to the Tiger Dojo segment. And the Tiger Dojo segment are mostly instance where you get after getting a bad ending, where you have another version of Ilya and Taiga telling you what you did wrong in a comedic fashion. So after Saber apparently kills you after the no fasting choice, you get transported to the Tiger Dojo segment where Ilya and Taiga modify Shiro into a robot, where he then turn against Ilya and Taiga and blows them up with his dual miniguns that they got installed in him. And all of it was just a bad dream. It wasn't actually a bad ending. So I think that movie is really funny, since you think like they sort of fake you out with the fake bad ending because of how they integrate a fake Tiger Dojo and just lampshade, oh, it was a bad dream. Another moment where I think it's kind of where it's funny in the visual novel, where in regards to how it handles its choice system, is like there's one moment in Fate's Stay Night Heaven's Field where Sirus is getting screwed up by Archer's arm, and like you have this moment where it says just push through or just give up. And if you pick just give up, the game you get a bad ending, and it's so funny. Like, oh, I just give up and die, and then you get blasted by Ilya and Taiga. It's like, why the hell do you pick this choice? You freaking coward! And it's like really funny. So yeah. Do you have any other games that comes to mind in regards to joke mechanics?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Like I still have a few, but they're all Tales of games, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, Tales of Fantasia. There's a moment in that game when you're going through Dallas's castle, where you go into this room where the only way to progress is to push all these switches on the floor at the same time with the AI, which is controlled by Arch. You know what's the problem with that is? Arch doesn't walk like a normal person. So you're supposed to activate the first switch, the first set of switches, and then the next, and the next, and the next. And you would think like, the normal thing is to just walk at a constant pace with the other characters, and then you would get through it fine. Not Arch. For the first switch, she goes normally. For the second one, she sprints. For the third one, she slows down, stops a bit, then sprints. The fourth one, I don't know. I never got to the fourth one. So like you keep doing this again and again and again and again, and when enough time passes, your other party members of this, and they just do the puzzle for you. So like this.
I like how the game just admits that the whole thing sucks, and they just like let you give up, and they do it themselves. It's hilarious.
It is extremely funny because this is what Arch would do, you think, given her personality. But yeah, that's like a really it's like a mini game, but like it's so funny how it progresses just because it's impossible. Like you can do it, but I couldn't do it when I played through Fantasia, so you know. Tales of Eternia. There are two more. Like overall, Tales of Eternia has a very many different gameplay mechanics compared to the current Tales game that come out nowadays. The part that gets to me is, well, there are optional characters. You don't have like how you get the optional characters is very different compared to the rest of the series, since the rest of the series doesn't really have optional characters for you to use. Like, yeah, most of them doesn't. But you do in Eternia with Chat and Max. Now Max can be good when you're using him, since he has really good AoE room-wide attacks if you are able to chain his arts together. Chat, on the other hand, it's just, she feels like just a joke. Just because like most of her moves don't feel that part of a series moveset that you're supposed to use in the game. She only has one good move, which is Eternity Hammer or something like that, and you only get that near the end of the game, and that's a room-wide attack that's constant until she runs out of TP. But before that point, she feels very. She doesn't feel like an actual character. It feels like they just added her because she's a character that you interact with a lot in the Vanaltia, which is the ship that you use in Eternia. Okay. And then there's Tales of Destiny DC. Now, if chat was on the lower tier optional characters, I would say Lilith is probably on the higher tier optional characters that you see in the Tales of series. Now, Lilith is a really interesting character because, like I said, she's an optional character that you can recruit either on Stan or Leon's side. If it's on Leon's route, if you're on the Stan's side, you have to beat her in the arena after talking to her in Stan's hometown. And Lilith is really tough if you do it right away. So I'm gonna send you a picture of Lilith. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah.
How do you think she plays, like, just from that picture?
I mean, I definitely get like major support vibe.
She's not a major support. She plays like a melee unit.
What?
And
come on, they knew what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were trying to do.
Now, Lilith in the original, she wasn't technically playable, but you could make her playable through Game Shark or something like that. And she was basically like a homage to fighting game characters, with how she had a bunch of fighting game moves. She does in this game too, but like it made her moveset a lot more wacky. Like fighting her as enemy boss is kind of tough because like she's like around like the recommended level. I think we want to fight her is like 45 or around there, or 50. But she can like really kill you very easily if you let her. Because a lot of her moves, like, she doesn't have a really an expanded art list, but all of her arts are really good are really good arts. Like Lilith Rush is a good gap closer. Rainbow Arch has so much range. If you get hit with Sunfish Stride, you're basically dead. But yeah, she has a lot of moves that are really powerful to contend with. And if you get hit by turnover, I believe I showed you this before, but she has a chance to basically inflict the downside status on you, where you can't do nothing except just walk around for a bit. So yeah, like she's a pretty powerful boss, but I think she's also a really good character to use gameplay wise when you're playing as her. She has a lot of arts that really flow well with each other. There's not one art that I think that is bad on her. Like, and she has a good elemental coverage, which is great in Tales of Destiny DC since utilizes weakness mechanic much more substantially than other Tales games. Almost to the same extent as Grace's F. Wake the Dead, Sunfish Stride, the aerial one is really strong, and Sunfish Stride is the one where she rides the Sunfish. Sunfish, let me look it up. Sunfish Screech, that's basically her version of Beast, but it takes a while if you do it on the ground. But on the air, it's really good. It basically serves as like an aerial Hadouken. Air to ground move to use if you're above them. And if they get hit by them, they get launched to the air a bit, which you can combo off with Rainbow Arch. And then she also has Aqua Smite, which is a good art to use since a good amount of the more annoying bosses has water weaknesses to it. Stake Flare is whatever, but like Stake Flare and Kick Rock are the arts that are a bit meh on her. but they have their uses, especially kick rock against bosses that has the penetrate status. Since it's a one hit move, which is good to have when you're trying to time your combos when a boss is about to lose their penetrate status. So yeah, overall I think Lilith is a great character to use, and I think she's an effective joke character because she has a moveset that you wouldn't really expect, and as a boss, she's really memorable. Not only because of moveset, because she also has one gimmick to her that makes it very costly to do a certain mechanic. You know about counter mystic arts in the series, right? If you do a mystic art against a particular character, they mystic art back you, they do their own mystic art at you.
Yeah. Okay, I remember.
Like Ash does it to Luke if you use his mystic art in his one-on-one battle. Lilith can do it against both Stone and Leon if you fight them, because you fight Lilith on both sides. And you know what's the most funniest part about fighting Lilith on Leon's side? The time frame where you can do her quests is around the moment where you're around level 29 or 30. You know what's the recommended level to fight her?
What?
45. If you go past a particular point in the story, you can't do the side quest later.
I mean, like, come on, what the hell? What is this design?
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I think Lilith is a very effective joke character that is utilized in Tales of Destiny DC. She's an incredibly memorable boss. She's an incredibly strong character to use in Tales of Destiny DC if you want to use her. I use her as my main, so yeah. And overall, she's just an overall really fun character. Has an incredibly unique moveset that you wouldn't really expect. And now, before I move on, there's also one particular art I want to highlight in Tales of Destiny DC. In the Tales games, there might be an art that is very memorable. And Kongman's second mystic art is very memorable because if you do it on a particular short enemy, he whiffs it. He whiffs his mystic art if the enemy is too short. You get his first hit in, but his second and third and final hit will miss.
I've never seen that in Tales game before. Never.
I will show you later, but it is very, very funny, I should say. Oh yeah, one more. Philia also has, like, you know how when they do a mystic art they have like an anime cut-in?
Mm-hmm.
Philia has a unique anime cut-in if you use her mystic art in a certain area, because she hates that area and wants to get over with as soon as possible. So I think that's a pretty funny moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have played through Tales of Rebirth. I just started playing it a week ago, seriously. But there is one moment I think is really funny, because like there is this part in the game where your party member accidentally ate poisonous mushrooms. Those poisonous mushrooms make them all laugh uncontrollably. You know how they integrate that into the game?
How?
Yeah, have a battle where everybody is just laughing. It sounds.
Oh my god!
It sounds deranged, but it is a pretty funny joke, and I think it's incredibly cool they integrate that into the battle itself.
Yeah, I like it when they integrate like the story into the gameplay like that.
Now, Symphonia and Abyss, I'm not sure there's much things I can highlight in that game in regards to joke mechanics. The only one that I can think of is like, at least in Symphonia, there's like a skit, I think, if you use Lloyd's wooden swords for a particular extended amount of time rather than just upgrading it. Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah. Of Vesperia though, Patty overall, I would say, plays very unorthodox, has a pretty unorthodox playstyle to the point where I can't identify her as a joke character. But I think the part where her joke status is very truly emphasized is in her Mystic Art, which is a Mystic Art where you play a Wheel of Fortune type of minigame where Patty just skips around on the wheel until she stops. And like Patty overall is a very RNG based character to begin with. Heck, you got a skill where she learns a skill where she either gets the best outcome with her RNG or the worst outcome for her RNG, or another skill where it limits you won't get the worst outcome, but you won't get the best outcome. So she's that type of character, you know. But her Mystic Art has a bunch of different interactions to it, and depending on when you land, can either be very detrimental to you or beneficial to you. The most, I think it'll be more interesting to say what are the detrimental factors to it. One, you lose all your overlimit gauge. Two, I think this is the most substantial one. You summon Barbados, who then attacks everybody, including your own party members. And he makes it that you can't use items for an extended period of time. And of course he does, because it's Barbados. He hates items. So Patty Mystic Art has a chance to screw you over if you're not careful. So yeah.
Jesus.
Like, have you played for the definitive version of Vesperia?
I played almost all of it. I got to I like stopped close to the end. I don't know why. I forgot. I think another game came out or something, and I didn't finish it. But I got like close to the end.
Okay, do you use Patty much at all?
I remember using her quite a bit, but I don't really remember too much about her fighting style, to be honest.
Okay. We can talk about Tales of Xillia next. Now, one of the things I gotta highlight is that Tales of Xillia, even though I think it's a great game, it has great characters, a really fun combat system, even if it has its flaws, a really interesting world in regards to Riza Maxia and Olympios. And I think it's one of the rare environmental stories that's not preachy with how it tells its story.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but you can tell that Xillia is rushed a bit, especially with the third arc. But not only with the third arc, I think some characters don't feel as polished as they could be. Well, mostly one character, like Jude, Mila, and Elise. I feel like the best characters in regards to how they're designed. Alvin and Rowan are pretty good, but not as well designed as the previous three. I think Leia got the short end of the stick. And that's mostly because with how she plays, it makes her feel like an aerial fighter like Mila. With how like a bunch of her arts got like a lot of aerial interactions if they're done in the air, or like how she has an art that gets her from the ground to the air with a type of launcher. But she doesn't have a jump cancel for some reason. I don't know why.
It defeats the purpose.
Like I don't know why she doesn't have jump cancel. Mila has a jump cancel, and she's an aerial fighter as well. I do not understand why Leia does not have a jump cancel in Xillia, and I can only attribute it to the game being rushed. And I can only say that because Leia does have jump cancel in Xillia too.
I think it might have just been developer oversight, to be honest.
But yeah, like a bunch of characters got like a bunch of new stuff in Xillia 2. Like Alvin, his charge mechanic, it gets much more interesting in Xillia 2, just because he has art that allows him to be in a charged state, rather than Xillia 1 where you can only use his charge moves if you charge beforehand, so he can't get a charge status in the middle of a combo in Xillia 1, unlike in Xillia 2 where he can, and then make some more interesting combo routes. But in Xillia 1, Leia feels unfinished until you get to Xillia 2, where she does have the skills that she needs in order to excel at.
Yeah, like I feel like Leia can live up to her potential if you like put in the time, but the lack of a jump cancel thing is just weird.
And then the intentional funny bit, I think, is in Xillia is probably the NPC dialogue, which is really funny. But I think that is so funny, like how loud the NPC dialogue can be sometimes in Xillia 1 and Xillia 2.
And I just love how it's like you're walking into a town and they always have mutton that just so happens to be fresh as you're walking in.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. And the Rize Maxia no, not just Rize Maxia, Olympias too. They all worldwide, fucking globally, have fresh mutton all the time. I love it.
Now in Xillia 2, I think the joke mechanic I want to highlight is probably the cameo battle ending. Because they're like in most Tales games, aside from the first one, because it's understandable why the first one doesn't have a cameo battle, so it's the first one. There's a cameo battle in Xillia 2 where you fight Mint, Stone, Ruti, I think, and Cress. Yeah, the main protagonist and main heroine of Fantasia and Destiny. And if you beat them, you get a particularly funny ending where they beat Origin's trial for you and save L for you, which I think is a pretty funny way to get an ending.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah. Now as a Saria, just the camera. Just the camera is the joke overall. Who play tested this camera? The camera is so bad in Zestiria.
It honestly might be the worst camera I've ever dealt with in a video game, and I'm not even like trying to be hyperbolic. That actually might be the worst camera I've ever dealt with.
Like the camera's so bad. I don't know what they're thinking with the camera. Like I know what they were thinking. They were trying to make it seamless, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Because look at what cost they made it seamless. I never really got the appeal of like, oh, we have this turn-based or this RPG has to have seamless battles. I don't think it adds anything. I don't think it adds any immersion. It's just there. It's just there just to be there. And Zestiria proves that it can actually be incremental.
But yeah, just the camera. Just the camera. There's other stuff that's bad in Zestiria, but that's more ill-designed. I mean, I guess the camera's ill-designed, but like the camera, it's so ill-designed that it just feels like it's a joke.
Water Temple. Water Temple definitely felt like a big joke.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. And lastly, Berseria. Now, there's not many mechanics where they make it into a joke, I think. In Berseria, it's a pretty consistent game in terms of tone, and that's reflected in the gameplay too. But I think there's one enemy where you just tell yourself, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And that's against EX boss, the Spectral Crystal, where it reflects every type of damage against you. You know what you're supposed to do?
What?
You're supposed to have an armor or weapon or armor set that has reflect on it, and you have to get it to hit you where you reflect the damage back at it and then kill it that way. Because if you're playing on normal and high, there's no other way to beat it than that. The only other way to beat it without having a particular armor set will reflect on it is by playing the game on simple. And it works out like that because on simple, no bosses has resist element to it.
That is such a weird way to design it. It's so weird.
Like, I feel like they try to do that just to be a gimmick boss, but yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, I forgot one joke moment in Eternia. Besides talking about chat, there's like an optional boss you can fight named Sukindis, and he's basically just Douse from Fantasia. Fighting him, I can feel like a joke sometimes, and not in that he's too easy. There's just something I do not understand when fighting him. Like, there is one instance where he throws out a spell and your party member just lies on the ground and doesn't get up until he casts another spell, and then he keeps doing it over and over again until you die. And I do not know why we just lie down on the floor. There's nothing, like, no matter how much I press, the characters won't get up, and then that's how I died the first 2 times against them. That just feels like, I don't know, man. I
think the developers knew.
I guess you can also kind of count Alexei as a what the freak difficulty jump to.
Yeah. Oh my god, he was tough.
And like the Alexei's main problem was like his Mystic Art, which can kill you. He has really big range, and the fact that he can heal himself with his Guardian Field, which is called Guardian Frost, and it doesn't just heal a bit; it heals substantially, and he can do it over and over, which is annoying. But yeah. That's all the joke. Oh wait, Grace is Up. Now, Grace is Up doesn't really have many mechanics that it plays around with in order to or subverts that make it a joke, but I think it is pretty funny how all Sharia ribbon descriptions is very girly, and having to try to it's very girly, and all of it is just trying to impress one guy in particular. Like, surely he'll notice me now. Like, every ribbon.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Every ribbon item is like that. Sure, like, oh, this is really cute. Surely he noticed me now, and that is really funny. But yeah, I think that's all for Tales in terms of joke mechanics for me. Is there anything else?
I think one little one that comes to mind is in Kingdom Hearts, and this is something that when I was a kid, and even when I played as an adult, I was like, oh my god, how did I do this? Is in the first Kingdom Hearts game, when you go to the jungle world, to the Tarzan world, and that world is all about like platforming, and there's a lot of jumping, there's a lot of climbing, there's a lot of rope swinging on vines and all that kind of stuff. And Kingdom Hearts is not that kind of game. Its control scheme isn't built around platforming. It's built around like the action combat. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying my absolute damnness to hop on the backs of these hippos, swing on vines, and I'm like, and I keep falling off. I'm like, oh, and then you gotta do that stupid sliding down the tree mini game, and you got enemies coming at you, and then you gotta try again, and I'm like, the game is not meant for this. Like, it's so counter to what the game philosophy is, and so it's like when you have shoehorned in platform mechanics in what's clearly an action game, put them together, you're not gonna have a good time. So like that honestly felt like it was just like fucking with me.
Well, yeah, I think that's all. Overall, there are ways where video games can basically troll you, or does something so absurd that it catches your attention. And I think it's good that they do that. It can make a video game certain moments very memorable. Anyway,
even if it like might frustrate you to a degree, at least you're gonna look back on it and remember it.
Anyway, I think that's all for today's episode of Sirus Gaming Corner. Thank you for being here, Sword. Everyone, take care.
A good one.
To close out this episode, here's also a funny footage I forgot to include and talk about. Here's footage in Tales of Destiny DC of fighting Barbados in the simple difficulty. Let's just say some funny shenanigan happens.
I don't think I saved over it. Oh wait, 20, yeah.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
That's one right.
Change the difficulty to simple.
Oh boy.
There's nothing to it, you know?
That was instant. I think that said cheap eliminated.
Yeah, cheap eliminate. Bruh.
I thought it was gonna be like, okay, he's gonna spam it, but a good player can win. No, you can't.
Imagine someone playing on simple difficulty in post game and then run into that. It's like the funniest thing ever.
How do you beat this boss? It's bullshit.